Welcome to Alton Towers. I hope you enjoyed that little montage of the gardens from above on the sky right now, which is pretty cool that that's now back open, and those clips of what I'm going to be doing today, the Alton Towers House and Gardens tour. I'm really excited to this. This is part of the Alton Towers content creator program, so I have been invited down to this, but I think it's about maybe like £10 for 2 hours. So it should be like very good value for money, at least I'm expecting it to be. I've heard a lot of good reviews, so I'm really excited to do it. And this will be my first ever time going inside the towers. So that'll be pretty cool. I've always wanted to. For those of you who don't really know, like I work in an architectural practice, that's kind of my job. I'm training to be an architect, so really fascinated by the towers. I have been for quite a while, so I'm out of breath, the steep hill. Really can't wait to get some great views like this from when we're inside the towers, because I think we're allowed on the roof, but obviously the Alton Towers and gardens were here a long time before the theme park was, so it'd be really cool to like hopefully learn more about the history and stuff, because most of it I don't know. And yeah, I'm just really excited to actually get inside the towers. I've never done it before. It's gonna be really cool. I appreciate this is obviously a bit of a departure from my normal videos, but I thought with all the vlogs I've been doing recently, this one could be a really fun one to do. So I'm really excited to start the tour. Just before the tour starts, this is the exit to Hex at the back of Her Ladyship's Gardens. I had no idea this section was open. Yeah, this whole section's open now. I swear it never used to be open. Get a great view from here, I bet. Oh yes, look at that. I didn't even know you could get up here. This is awesome. Either this hasn't been open for a while or I've just never noticed it, but yeah, this is really cool. You can actually get pretty close to the towers from up here. Obviously we're about to get a lot closer in this tour, like actually inside, but yeah, this is cool. There is certain bits you can't get into, but oh, this is awesome. I've never actually been this far into the towers before. Very cool. I'm excited to do this. Yeah, I had absolutely no idea you could get up here. I love that tower. I hope we learn more about that. The detailing on that is crazy. But yeah, on with the gardens and the house tour.
After everybody arrived at the meeting point, which is just outside the towers, we all got given this beautiful map and guide of the experience we were about to have. This was made by one of the staff members, and it's a really carefully made, detailed look at all of the things we were going to experience. And a really nice keepsake too, which I loved. From here, we were all given a headset so we could hear our guide and made our way into the gardens. We firstly made our way under the White Bridge and then up to the Koragic Monument. I have to say early on that our guide was absolutely fantastic for this experience. They were unbelievably knowledgeable about every aspect of Alton Towers, giving us many amazing facts and stories about all parts of the gardens. I don't think I ever quite appreciated how in-depth the history was behind these gardens. They've been here for hundreds of years and have countless stories about loads of different things that have happened. And our entire group was just completely enthralled listening to the tour guide talk about all these amazing tales.
North America or South America, we've got the headdress there and the young man holding the lizard. This one is particularly interesting. This is Africa.
The first structure we saw was the conservatories, which were a beautifully ornate building, with some really fascinating history behind it as well. And it's one of many parts of the towers and gardens that have been recently restored as well, so getting to know all about the restoration work was really fascinating.
Needing to actually reach the top of the conservatory. It's formed when carbonate minerals precipitate out of water influence these, which is just as well because both the Earl's daughters were married to Italian princes.
After some incredible views of the sky ride and seeing the summer house, we then went further into the gardens to the famous yew arches. We then saw our first of many fountains in the Towers Gardens, this one being the corkscrew fountain. And what is a really cool fact about all the fountains in the park is that they are actually fully gravity powered. So they get their water from a spring high up in the hills and that powers all of the fountains. We then also saw the famous bear cave where a large black bear used to reside many years ago, which I'm sure was quite terrifying.
Derby were responsible for this. Dates back to 1824. You have iron fencing around the middle and right at the top. So I said it's called Prospect Tower or Gothic Prospect Tower. Well, what does the name mean?
We then arrived at my favourite viewing point in the entire resort. I absolutely love this overlook. After a few facts about Prospect Tower and taking in the views, then we went further down into the lower parts of the gardens in the valley below.
Steps in a moment. Yes, it's going to be one of those moments. Watch your step. There's going to be 1 or 2 tree roots sticking up. Everyone all doing all right so far? Yeah.
As much as there is a lot of walking up and down varying terrains throughout this tour, I found it really relaxing just being out in the gardens. It was a really beautiful experience, and the staff were always asking if we were okay and telling us to be careful going downstairs and steeper parts as well, which I thought was lovely.
Like that here. It takes its name from a fountain peach flower. Unfortunately, it spreads and it spreads rapidly. In the 1960s, they were not here. They were restored here in the 1990s. The photographs, some more facts and figures about the garden, and then obviously they'll be on to the house. On a Sunday, they would have a brass band playing.
After passing the bandstand and making our way up and out of the gardens, I did suddenly realise that we were about halfway through the experience here and we'd already covered so much. Like, if you have any sort of interest in Alton Towers and its history, I think you will genuinely love this tour. It's so interesting. Then to finish our tour of the gardens, we ended it at this beautiful overlook point that I didn't even know was here. I'll definitely be coming here a lot more often because the views are just stunning.
What a view.
Then we made our way up to the towers. We then came up outside the towers to where I was earlier, talking about the different features of the buildings and what the different buildings were actually used for. You understand it in the gardens as well, but from this point you can really get a feel for how big Alton Towers is. The actual resort land is just huge.
Dedicated to St. Peter, hence the statue at the top. And they were placed here in the early 1990s. So we're going to go along here through the gardens. We've got an army.
Here our guide was talking about the Alton Towers armoury, which I found really fascinating and we'll actually get back to later. But now we are going inside the actual towers themselves. This was so fun.
I suppose today you call it faded grandeur. But don't think of it that way.
Walking actually inside the towers was a pretty surreal experience anyway. Like, you do get to do parts of this during Scarefest, which I will come on to later, but going this far into the towers themselves and seeing so much of it, I just found really fun. It's so interesting, like, learning more and more about this building. It's a really fascinating place.
Now, it's originally thought that this room was a bedroom. Over here as well, you've got the boating lake. And now, they were bricked up because Eugene probably...
It was at this point I really began to appreciate the commentary we were getting from our host. The level and depth of information they know about the Alton Towers is just really cool, and getting to learn so much about this amazing building was great.
Fountain room. You've got the Star Garden, and you've got the Star Fountain down at the bottom, so it's a lovely view to take a photograph.
Then we moved on to probably my most anticipated part of this tour, getting on the roof of the towers. I knew the views were going to be incredible from up here, and we were already getting little glimpses as we were going up, but wow, yeah, I was not prepared. When I was talking about the armoury earlier, that is the building to the left of the octagon there, and that and the octagon act as the queue line for Hex, which you can see the ride building of at the back there. When you're actually on Hex and going through the queue, it's so well integrated you actually feel like you're still in the towers, which most of it is. It's a beautiful use of the towers, and I'd love to do the Hex behind the scenes experience someday. You can definitely start to appreciate the actual architecture of the towers from up here as well. Over the hundreds of years that the towers have been here, they've been adapted and built upon, and it's so cool seeing all the different buildings interact with each other. Pretty surreal experience seeing this, and then we got to go onto a section of the roof which looked over X Sector, and the views were so cool from here. This building was built for views, and it still gives incredible views today. As much as it was lovely and peaceful up here, it was quite haunting hearing the X Sector theme in the background, but that's very Alton Towers.
Amount of bedrooms. Well, because it's not a royal palace, it's meant to be a family home. But spiritualism, well, this is what the 8-pointed stars meant to. You can imagine where it has yellow roof, but also might feel this, as you can see, dressing room, where the floor was, or one of the floors. Now, in one of the descriptions, it said probably in here, you can get the exact room next door, probably here, was a spiral over staircase.
What I did find particularly interesting about this area of the towers is that this is where the Attic Scarefest maze used to be for the past couple of years. This was a good maze and I did enjoy it, but it had been around for a while, so it's interesting to see that it clearly isn't coming back this year. Along with that, there's no sign of Altonville Mine Tours at the bottom of the towers either, so I don't think there will actually be any scare attractions this season, and maybe onwards, that will be in or around the towers themselves at all.
See a monument on the top, it's called a trig point, and the trig point marks the highest point on the Weaver Hills. Now, there's two reasons why they're so special. The first reason is they've got a number of prehistoric very...
Then, for the finale of the tour, the iconic banqueting hall. Then, after seeing the beautifully restored stained glass windows, our experience came to an end. We got to do a final bit of a Q&A with our amazing host, and then we made our way out of this incredible building.
So as you've just seen there, that was the Alton Towers House and Gardens tour. That, I think, might be one of my favourite days at Alton Towers. Genuinely, that was incredible. Like, obviously, I spent a good portion of the day getting on some pretty short queues on all the rides because it's very quiet today, but wow, that was a genuinely incredible experience. A tenner for 2 hours. Like, it was so good. Like, you got to see all of the gardens. Obviously, I've seen pretty much most of the gardens before, but getting to go inside the actual towers was fantastic. One thing I will note, there was no trace of any of the scare mazes, so I don't think there's any scare mazes in the towers anymore. I think that's it, which is interesting because they normally leave them up. So yeah, it's nice to start to see more of the towers getting restored. Obviously, this has now opened it up to a lot more people. I know they are putting a price on it, but I think they explained it very well, and saying that, like, if it was just completely free, open to the public, it would just get trashed. And there was so much graffiti in there that they were pointing out and saying that, like, they've spent quite a bit of money removing it and they don't want it to ever get like that again. So I can completely understand it. And like £10 for a 2-hour guided tour, all of the staff were great, telling you everything you needed to know, all the amazing facts about everything. It was just fantastic. I really recommend that. If you love Alton Towers, you will love this experience and you will have an incredible day, just like I have. I've loved that. Thank you so much for Alton Towers for inviting me out to this. I was going to do it anyway, but like now that like it's an experience that you can do, I've absolutely loved it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I've loved doing this. See you in the next one.